This is a Galisi 25 caliber. It was made in Italy, imported into the U.S. It's based off the John Browning design, the 1908 Baby Browning. It's similar in a lot of ways. I've had the gun for a while. When I received the gun, it was stored in a tackle box, and it was just a mess. It was just filled with rust. It was so bad. I actually had the magazine filled with ammunition, and it took me 2 days of soaking it to get the magazine out of the gun, so it was in that bad a shape. Unfortunately, I don't have pictures of that because I've had this gun for a few years now, and I decided I'm going to start a new project. But I do have some photos of the beginnings of the restoration that I'm trying on this gun, and I'll throw them in at the end. So what I want to do is I want to put a new finish on it, and I've been looking into bluing, and the cold blue systems, from the research I've done, they just don't hold up on a whole gun. It's good for touch-up, but not really a whole gun. Hot bluing, I just don't have the area or the money for all the equipment that's necessary for that, and that, from what I understand, can be a pretty dangerous operation. So I found a thing online and did some research, and it's called slow rust bluing. That finish is mainly for shotguns, old antique rifles, but I've noticed a lot of people doing them on handguns, revolvers, and pistols. So I thought I'd give it a try. This is going to be my first attempt at doing a bluing job. So I figured I'd take you guys along with me. I don't think it's going to be as much a review on the product as it is me doing the work. So it's a slow, tedious process. Very easy to do, but very time-consuming, and you have to be very, very neat in it. Oils and grease from your hands or anything contaminate the finish, and then it just goes bad from there. So what I'm going to use is Laurel's Blue Barrel Brown and Degreaser, and I'll show you how to make this into a blue finish instead of a brown. You just boil it in between applications. So I'm going to get set up, and we'll get into it. Thanks. The gun was in such bad condition, filled with pits and rust, that I had to kind of go to extreme measures. I stripped the gun down all the way, took the internals all out. And because of the pitting and rust was so bad on the frame itself, I had to actually use a draw file. Now, I'm not recommending that anybody go out and, grab your $500 gun and start filing away on it. This is basically a trial and error kind of gun for me. It's a good project, but yet the gun's really inexpensive, and it was such bad shape anyway, I couldn't do any worse on it. So when you're filing or sanding on the frame and the slide, you want to make sure that you keep all the edges nice and crisp. You don't want to round off the edges, the sharp edges along the frame. So you want to go very, very careful, very, very slow, a little bit at a time, because you can never add to it once you take it off. I used sanding blocks for the flat areas after I got done draw filing it. And I worked on the slide. The serrations were in really bad shape. But I cleaned those up. And there's still a little bit of pitting on the slide itself. But I don't want to go any more because I don't want to change that round into a square and make the metal look wavy. So I did as much as I could. We're all done using the file. It came out pretty well. The frame came out really well. There's a few spots on the slide still, but again, I don't want to go down any further. I went down as far as I really wanted to go. I don't want to make that side of the slide wavy or anything. We're on to the next step, which is using some emery cloth. I started out with 600 grit, and I'm down to 300. I might go down as far as 180 grit. They say in the rust blue process, the finer and the more polished the metal, the more the finish will have a glossy finish to it. So we'll see. I'm on 300 right now. I'm going to continue doing this, getting the file marks off the frame. I won't put you through that torture, and we'll be back with the bluing process next. Early on, when I was taking the original finish off, I just used rust and blue remover. It took most of the bluing off. And then I sanded it down a little bit, and at that time, I was using oil to lubricate the emery cloth. But because this process is so finicky to oils and containing the finish, at this process now I'm so close to the bluing, I'm just going to use regular water to lubricate the emery cloth. So, also when you When you file on the metal, metal has grains. So you want to try to follow the grain of the metal as much as you can. Some spots it's hard to do. You can cross grain sand, but whenever possible, try to stick with the grain. So all I'm doing, taking the emery cloth, dipping it in some water, and just lightly going over it. Making sure to stay very flat on the flat spots. Now you never want to take a flat sanding block and do a round surface. You want to take just a piece of cloth and go over the surfaces. This way it keeps the round round and the straight straight, and it keeps these nice crisp corners.